Nassir Amit, the Flesh Terror, was the captain of the Blood Angels' 5th Company during the Great Crusade and the Horus Heresy. He was a line commander who was notorious for proudly displaying his Artificer-wrought battleplates, impact marks, blade scratches, and other signifiers of battle wear. During the Great Crusade, of all the 9th Legion's captains, Amit's reputation and that of his company was the most bloodthirsty. Their zealotry in battle had earned them a dubious reputation amongst their battle brothers, for they had been censured more than once for their pursuit of enemy forces. Amit had a predatory way about him, a sense of aggression barely held in check, that many of his fellow captains had seen unleashed in full many times on the field of battle. Like their commander, the battle brothers of the 5th Company were known to bear bolters and flaying knives in battle. Amit was a formidable warrior and commander, and was noted for leading his company in the Imperial Compliance of Melchior, a joint campaign that was carried out by both the Lunar Wolves of Horus Loprical and the Blood Angels Legion. The world was the last bastion of the Xenos known as the Nephilim. He was also present during the Council of Nikaea in 1M31, which was called by the Emperor of Mankind to determine whether or not the use of psychic abilities represented a boon or a grave danger to mankind and the Imperium of Man. Though he was present throughout most of the proceedings, Sanguinius had ordered Amit to stand sentinel in the Great Angel's personal quarters when the Emperor finally pronounced his decree absolute, banning the use of psychic powers in the Space Marine legions. Amit, like his Primarch, was staunchly pro-librarian, and he suspected that his Primarch had relegated such a mundane duty to him so that he would not try to argue with the Emperor's decision. When the Blood Angels' 1st Captain, Ralduran, returned to the Primarch's quarters, Amit argued with him instead, and proceeded to go on a tirade about why the Emperor's decision was wrong, and that forbidding the Space Marine Legion's librarians from using their innate abilities was a mistake. He also expressed his concern as to how they were to integrate their psychic brethren back into the rank and file. When Sanguinius entered the chamber, he assured Captain Amit that the librarians would be welcomed within the ranks of the 9th Legion, but warned him that his father's words were law, and by that authority alone, the edicts of Nikaea were beyond contestation. Later, Amit and his 5th Company took part in a joint campaign between the Blood Angels Legion and the Alpha Legion in the Kavas Belt, fighting against the Greenskins. Many tribes of orcs, scattered and leaderless after the defeat at Ulanor during the Ulanor Crusade, had fled, and many had come to rest in the Kavas Belt, where they carved new outposts out of the drifting mineral-rich rocks and licked their wounds while they rearmed. The Alpha Legion had tracked the orcs to their lair and petitioned the War Master Horus for the reinforcements required to prosecute their plan of annihilation. The Blood Angels agreed to assist their cousins of the 20th Legion, with Sanguinius himself marshalling a sizable intervention to support the efforts of the 88th Expeditionary Fleet. The mission, Alfarius said, would be 5 standard years in execution. The Angel rejected that premise and promised it would be over in 1. And he committed vessels from every active Blood Angels Expeditionary Fleet to the cause. Just over 13 solar months after the commencement of the Kavas initiative, the orcs were almost totally annihilated. After the fall of War Master Horus to Chaos, he sent Sanguinius and the 9th Legion to the Signus cluster to be destroyed or join his cause in what would be known as the Signus Campaign. When the Blood Angels arrived in system, their fleet was ambushed by the malevolent forces of the warp, crippling or killing many of their navigators and astropaths in the initial assault. The Blood Angels now faced the fury of chaos for the first time. When the Blood Angels moved upon the Signus cluster's capital world of Signus Prime, they were assailed by malevolent energies which surged across the void, attacking the minds of the physically sensitive mortal crewmen of the Blood Angels expeditionary fleet. In the second wave of attack, the Blood Angels were set upon by monstrous hell ships, deformed mutant vessels afflicted by the warping powers of chaos. One of the hell ships collided with the Blood Angels' flagship, the Red Tier, and disgorged hundreds of warp spawns, and the ship's commanding officer, Admiral Ducade, and her entire bridge crew had become infected with madness from the psychic cacophony. After killing her entire bridge crew, the Mad Admiral set a new course for the massive flagship towards the surface of Signus Prime. After the Red Tier crashed upon the planet's surface, and the accompanying word-bearer's vessel, the Dark Page, and the Chaplain Tanas Creed fled, Sanguinius called for a council of angels, a gathering of all the Legion's senior captains to decide the next course of action. It was here that Amit spoke bluntly of what had come to pass, voicing both his fears and that which no one wanted to admit. They faced neither Xenos nor any foe that had been spawned from the material realm, for these enemies were literal demons. When Sanguinius tried to tell Amit that he had made his point, the Flesh Terror continued to speak, and declared that the word-bearer's chaplain's duplicity in leading them there could only mean that they had been betrayed by the War Master. Amit's words had barely left his lips when Sanguinius swept forth and knocked Amit down with the pommel of his great sword. His red blade then came about, and its tip was placed upon the captain's bare throat. The Primarch would not abide such aspersions being cast upon his brother Horus. He ordered Amit to recount, for he would cut his armor from him and mark him for punishment. The willful captain refused, for in his heart he knew that he spoke the truth. Amit's fears were confirmed by Helic Red Knife, who led a small cadre of space wolves that were also present at the proceedings and had accompanied the Blood Angels to the Signus Cluster. Before the Blood Angels had set out for the Signus Cluster, the small cadre had been sent by their Primarch, Leman Russ, under orders from Malcador the Sigillite, the Regent of Terra, to watch over Sanguinius, and if need be, to attempt to kill him if he showed any signs of disloyalty like that of his brother Magnus the Red. Red Knife explained that such betrayals had already been committed, such as the act committed by the Thousand Sons Primarch, who had broken the Emperor's decree absolute with his continued embrace of psychic sorcery on Prospero. With these new revelations, the Blood Angels resolved to face the threat on Signus Prime and emerge victorious no matter the cost. During the subsequent battle of Signus Prime, the Space Marines confronted the vast nightmarish horde of chaos cultists and packs of monstrous demons. Sanguinius faced a new threat in the form of a greater demon of Khorne, a bloodthirster of the Blood God, named Kabanda. The angel and the demon fought a titanic battle amidst the blood and carnage all around them. At the height of this confrontation, as the Primarch prepared to strike a killing blow against the fallen bloodthirster, Kabanda struck a dishonorable blow with its massive barbed whip around the Primarch's legs, smashing the angel to the ground. The greater demon then summoned forth the malefic powers known as the Rage Fire and cut a huge swath through the ranks of the Sons of Baal with his great axe, killing 500 Blood Angels in an instant. The psychic backlash of so many of his Gene sons dying so suddenly knocked Sanguinius into unconsciousness. Leaderless, the Blood Angels' fury was unfettered. The brutal violence of the bloodthirster Kabanda unleashed something dark within the psyche of the Blood Angels, a thirst for blood that would not be slaked until the taint of chaos had been wiped away from the planet. The sons of Sanguinius lost themselves in the riot of killing. When Amit and some of his warriors fell into the depth of the red thirst, they set upon Helic Red Knife and his space wolves, slaughtering all of them. Following the battle, Amit submitted himself to First Captain Raldoran for punishment. He revealed what had occurred to the Space Wolves, but Ascalon, the commander of the Sanguinary Guard, revealed to Amit that he had already lied to their Primarch about how the Space Wolves had died. Enraged, Amit nearly came to blows with the Sanguinary Guard commander, but Ascalon explained that if their lord knew the truth, he would blame himself for what had happened. He would then tell his brother, the Wolf King Leman Russ, the truth. This would risk the bonds between the two legions, a bond at a time when unity was sorely needed. Amit asked Ascalon how he was supposed to ease the pain in his heart with what he had done. Ascalon informed him that it was a burden that he must ultimately learn to bear. Following the events of the Siege of Terra, the death of Sanguinius at the hands of his brother Horus, which triggered the Black Rage in the Blood Angels, and the confinement of the Emperor within the Golden Throne, came the greatest blow to the Blood Angels in the form of the traitor Rupud Guilliman and the formation of the Adeptus Astartes. For the Blood Angels, this division was a cruel double blow. Their Primarch Sanguinius was dead, without time to grieve the Gene Father nor recoup the terrible casualties suffered in the Siege of Terra. This close-knit fraternity was to be sundered. The sons of Sanguinius were at last united by the sole survivor of the Sanguinary Guard, Ascalon. The survivors of the 9th Legion formed a small number of chapters, commanded by the champions of the Blood Angels. Each took on the traditions and rites of their legion as the basis for their new brotherhood and adopted a fitting name. Though Ascalon had been first among equals, he had been too shaken by Sanguinius' death, too weak to stand his ground and fight for the legion. The rest of Amit's brothers had shown little more conviction. He, and he alone, had voiced his discontent with the division of the legion, and it had gone unheard, dismissed as the angry words of a grieving son, the rantings of a mad butcher. Even in this time of disarray, the newly promoted and vengeful chapter master led his eponymous new successor chapter on a blood-soaked crusade to seek out and annihilate any vestige of the traitor legions. Their actions, even in the early years of the Flesh Tearers chapter's existence, laid the foundations upon which they would be known and judged ever after. After their official formation, the Flesh Tearers immediately left Terra to embark upon a new imperial crusade to eliminate traitor forces still loyal to Horus, as well as continuing to purge chaos infestations from imperial walls during the period known as the Great Scouring. The Flesh Tearers were assigned the battle barge Victus from their former legion, which served as their mobile fortress monastery for the next 3,000 Terran years. The Flesh Tearers' reputation for savagery in battle was soon well known, and so the terrible flaws of the 9th Legion's genetic legacy must have asserted themselves very soon after the death of the Blood Angels Primarch. During this time, these Space Marines remained constantly on crusade, destroying any heretics whose path they crossed. Those they encountered, they defeated. Those they defeated, they utterly annihilated, leaving no stone left unturned and no living beings left to continue any heresy. For thousands of Terran years after their founding, the Flesh Tearers were a mobile crusading chapter. Eventually, however, in the 34th millennium, the chapter chose to establish a permanent fortress monastery upon the death world of Cretacia, deep in the galactic west. Cretacia was home to a small population of feral humans, whose genes were pure and who had developed a remarkable Neolithic warrior culture that produced strong and able Flesh Tearers recruits. In the end, anger and despair saw the end of Nassir Amit. The chapter records of the present day do not indicate how Nassir Amit died or who had ultimately bested him. Only the remains of his suit of tactical dreadnought armor were found aboard one of the chapter's void ships after battle. Most of the data in the cogitators and memory banks of the vessel had been corrupted, and the events that led to his death are a secret unto this day. Men crave food, they crave flesh, they crave power. We are not men. The Emperor's angels, his space marines, crave honor, they crave retribution, they crave justice. We are not angels. We are the blood sons of Sanguinius. We crave only violence, bloodshed. There is no void deep within our souls, only the hunger, an insatiable call to slaughter. The Flesh Terror, Nassir Amit. Alright guys, thanks a lot for watching. If you enjoyed this, make sure to subscribe and stay tuned for more.